A survey conducted by Irish Rugby Union Players Association revealed that the average rugby career spans a total of 7 years. Meanwhile, according to Rugby Dome, the average retirement age for rugby players is 34 years of age in England, and in Ireland it's slightly younger at 32. Scrumhalves retire later than any other position at the age of 36. Thomas Armstrong is an ex-rugby player who was told he would never play sports again due to injuries and illness. However, he ignored traditional medicine and his doctor's advice, and now he teaches others how to successfully do the same. He's completed ultra marathons and he's continued to defy the odds despite the fact he had to endure a hip operation that failed. He credits the power of movement and creating good nutritional habits for the turnaround, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, in his life. And Armstrong joined me this week to tell me more about his inspirational, courageous, and emotionally gratifying story. So without further delay, I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Absolutely. So, Thomas, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program today, buddy. It's great to see you, and I'm excited to learn all about your personal and professional story. So, thanks for a few minutes, buddy.
No worries, no worries.
Absolutely. Now, Thomas, I know your background is as an ex-rugby player, and you were told to never play sports again because of injury and illness. So I'm wondering if you could give me the bird's eye view of your story and how you ended up being the person you are today.
Yeah, I mean, like I said briefly on on message, I mean, I could probably talk about this for the whole 30 minutes. But where I started, I'm an ex-professional rugby league player in the UK. I played for some of the best clubs in the UK. I played for St Helens, I played for Widnes, I played for Lyon, I played for Toronto. Well, that's where I retired actually. Toronto down in your end in Canada. And yeah, so my professional career never reached the kind of the heights that I wanted to reach just due to injury. Now that injury was an unfortunate hip degeneration that happened. It was a chronic injury that just kept getting worse in my hip, and then they recommended that I needed surgery. And now in retrospect, the surgery went wrong, and I could have done much more things to help me get to recover and get back on the field. But at the time, I was 26 at the time, 27. I was just advised to take the surgery. It was a hip arthroscopy and femoral head reshaping. So basically, the ball and socket joint wasn't smooth and didn't fit in correctly into the joint. So every time I was moving, they said that it was grinding on the joint and causing osteoarthritis and causing labral damage, which is like a tear. And basically, what I was advised to do was have this surgery, and it would essentially just recover from that with a bit of physiotherapy. But ultimately, that wasn't the case, and I ended up having to retire not long after. About 6 months later, I was training and trying to recover and get back quicker, but I was put on this an Alter G, which is basically a anti-gravity treadmill. And as I was running, I just felt something go grind and just like a really dull ache through my whole leg. And ever since that point, I've never stepped foot on the field again, and just had to accept that I was retired, and I just had to walk away from the game there. And then literally in the space of a few weeks, I was a professional sportsman, and obviously my plan was I was doing well at the time. And I was just hoping that it was going to go on, and I was going to make a career within rugby, but away from rugby. But that wasn't to be, and I had to just take a step back from the field. Now, the process of where I got to the injury was a long degenerative process. I was never had any injuries in my life, never had any illness really in my life, and then all of a sudden I started to get these chronic pain in all my joints, in my knees, my hips, my fingers, my knuckles, any previous like kind of injuries, because I've like broken all my fingers playing rugby, but I started to get really bad pains within my joints. And now I know kind of what that was to do with. That was to do with a gut issue that I had, and that was to do with me living in a house that had mold in the black mold in the corner of some rooms. And I'm allergic. I found out that I'm allergic to mold, and this was causing an inflammatory response called the chronic inflammatory response syndrome. I'm obviously going a bit headier, but we'll cut back. But essentially, I was having these joint pains as a result of a gut issue that was untreated. So I ended up having surgery on an inflamed joint that I didn't need surgery on, essentially. So I ended up having to retire because I had a gut issue. Now this is where my kind of I've now my journey has progressed to, is now I coach people more holistically, because I could have carried on playing sport and carried on being a professional athlete and maybe getting to the top of my game if I knew what I was putting in my body, and my diet was right, and my environment that I was living in was a good environment. So now I kind of try and coach people and teach people how to better live their lives in terms of work, obviously their environment they're in, whether they're around any toxins, whether they're allergic to any of these toxins, the nutritional aspect of things, and also the movement and the coaching aspect of things, where now I am a coach of more like a movement-based plan where you can recover from injuries such as my hip, because after my surgery, the doctor said I needed a hip replacement before I was 30. So I kept developing different techniques and using alternative therapies like red light therapy and different cold water techniques and breath work and things. And then I went back for a second consultation, and they said that my hip inflammation had reduced and the osteoarthritis had reduced massively. And so I kept putting off surgery, and to the point where I'm at today, 5 years on, I've still not had surgery on the hip, and I've ran ultra marathons, I've done triathlons, and so I'm just like kind of now trying to coach and teach people that there is a way out of chronic pain and chronic illness without having to go to the doctor, take medication to block and mask the pain, to feel anxious, depressed, and down, when you can actually just take control of your life by following some simple systems and procedures that kind of I've developed, and obviously other people in the world have developed, like in previous history, not just me, obviously.
Yeah, and Thomas, tell me, how has your overall quality of life sort of changed or improved since you've sort of ignored traditional medicine, and why are you so passionate to teach other people to do the same?
Well, if I take you back to when I first discovered that I had a gut ailment due to the moldy environment I was in, I was suffering for everything I ate. It was almost like a irritable bowel syndrome or Crohn's disease kind of symptoms. I was eating things, and normal things that you would eat every day. Just even sometimes you get a takeaway, you treat yourself, and then I would lie in bed for 2-3 days with like chronic fatigue. I couldn't get out of bed. I had like bloodshot eyes. There was loads of things that and like burst capillaries underneath my eyelids. And I just was thinking, something's not quite right here. And I kept going to doctors. They said that I had a family history of gall disease and chronic gastritis. So they wanted to basically remove my gall. And it was at that point that I was like, I need something to change. I need to find out what's going on, because I went to several doctors, more than several, countless doctors, and they all just basically said that you've got a family history of this. you need to take these medications, antacids, the XYZ. Just you're going to be on medication all your life. We're going to take your gall out, and then you're going to be on like your granddad did, and blah blah blah. Like my family history is pretty rough when it comes to gut ailments and gall disease. So I wasn't going to accept that fate. So that was about 3 years ago. So my life at the time, I was in chronic pain. I was taking loads of painkillers, medication. I was taking antacids. I was just lying in bed, and I was just from a highly active professional athlete one year to someone who just had an operation and was lying in bed, was obviously not feeling great and couldn't eat anything because I just moved. It all coincided. I moved house as I got injured, so it was like this house that I moved into was a moldy environment, but I didn't know that I was allergic to this mold. And so that kind of period where I'd just retired from rugby because of injury, I'd been taking medications. When you get an infection, I had to take a lot of antibiotics after because I got an infection in my hip. So I'd taken antibiotics, which was lowering my gut microbiota in my stomach because it kills all the good bacteria as well, antibiotics. So I then was in this kind of melting pot of a really bad situation. I was allergic to my house. I had a really bad gut microbiome because of the antibiotics, and then it was just the combination of those two things together, and eating poorly as well because I was just kind of like having takeaways, comfort food because I was feeling down. All this, and obviously all the toxins within the poor food and the takeaways. All this kind of made like the perfect storm for chronic inflammatory response syndrome, chronic inflammation within the body, and that's kind of where I ended up being. And every day it was a struggle to even get up. And there was things that I was doing, like I was saying to my wife, "Can you pass me that over there?" And I couldn't remember the name of what it was. It was a fork at the time, and it's like I felt like I was getting early onset dementia. I couldn't even think of people's names. I just had a newborn baby as well. My son kept forgetting people's names. It was just like really embarrassing. And it was all around the same time as the pandemic as well. So we're locked in our house all the time. So I'm locked in this environment that was toxic. And so basically what you said, going back to your question, how has my life improved? Well, it's improved 20-fold because I'm able to do these things. I have these talks. I coach people. I've run marathons. I've run triathlons. I've got my life back essentially after understanding what my body's about, my gut is about, and that's like through the blood testing and gut analysis that I now do with my business. I had to do this on my own to get all this data to better understand why I was being ill, because no doctors at the time were helping me. They just were saying, right, okay, you've got a family history of this, so let's do this a reductionist approach and take out your gall, take out part of your body, and then let's leave you on medication for the rest of your life. And that just was not an option for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And Thomas, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the concept of perseverance and how you view it, buddy, because you've been through a lot. So how do you view the concept of perseverance?
Perseverance and resilience, you said. Yeah, so I think resilience is like you kind of a trait, right? And so I am a very resilient person because I think to be a professional athlete, you have to be resilient. You have to persevere. So every week you train several times a week, and then you play on a weekend. And to get to a professional level, you have to be of a certain mindset and ilk to get there, to get over adversity, and to overcome people saying you're not good enough, because 99% of people don't make it in professional sport. And whilst I didn't get to the heights that I wanted to get to, I still was played professionally. I was paid to play the sport that I loved, and in order to get to that point, like I said, you have to be resilient. You have to show resilience, and you have to be persistent action. When the chips are down, that's how you drive yourself forward. You might not have a good game, but you've got to dust yourself off, and you've got to pick yourself back up. And so I think I've taken that mindset of a professional athlete, a professional sportsman, into my recovery, in terms of recovering myself and learning about the gut microbiome and how to obviously treat treat yourself, because at the time, again, I was talking back in the pandemic times, doctors really didn't want to know. Like, if it wasn't to do with the pandemic, it wasn't on their list of things to help. So I was just, like I said, I was sent away. So that feeling of, I guess you can just say, feeling really like on your own. You're in this on your own. You're ill. You either accept that you're ill and take these medications that they want you to take and just accept your fate, or you find a way. And going back to resilience, perseverance, you've got to persevere. You try different elimination diets of trying to remove food, trying fasting for 24, 48 hours, just trying it, reading all literature and absorbing as much data and information as I can in order to help myself. Because at the end of the day, people go to medical school and all these, and for 6 years to basically learn what you have to learn yourself in essence to treat yourself. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that I'm a qualified medical professional, but I've read enough books now to help me and help a lot of people, which I have been doing over the last few years. And my background is I've been to university myself. I'm a master of engineering, so it's not like I don't understand how to learn and to educate myself. And being like an autodidact, I like to self-teach myself, because that's the way that universities are taught anyway. So I'm used to that kind of learning. So this opportunity, I saw it at first. It was debilitating, mentally hard, traumatic to myself, and I just took it out on everyone around me, my family and my friends. But then I realized this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for me to learn from this this poor set of cards that I've been dealt, to help me get back my health, and then to help others. Because it wasn't just me that this was affecting. My wife isn't allergic to the moldy environment. She after we had our child, she ended up having cervical cancer, and I believe that that's due to the fact that we were in an environment that was moldy and toxic and was causing inflammation. Whereas I'm hypersensitive, and my son's hypersensitive because he had baby asthma. So they diagnosed him with baby asthma. But as soon as we moved out of that house, all the symptoms went. A lot of my symptoms went, and my wife's cancer reduced and completely went. So I'm a huge advocate for understanding your environment and your body, because if people didn't know these things, they would have just persevered in the negative way, in the wrong direction, and just grinned and bared it, so to speak, and stayed in the house and just gone, okay, we're just ill. Whereas I didn't accept that. That's how I'm resilient. I showed perseverance to get out of that situation I was in.
Yeah, absolutely. And Thomas, I'm curious to ask you about creating good habits nutritionally and sort of taking ownership of your own health. What do you think that entails, in your opinion?
Well, it's a multifaceted answer, because in order to understand nutrition, it's really difficult from person to person. Now, identical twins only share up to about 30% of their microbiome of the gut. So if you think about that, they're identical in every single way except the microbiome. That basically the gut. I see the gut after all this kind of research and all the nutritionists I've been working with my company, True Athletic Fitness. I see the gut as like the first brain that grew within the body. So obviously, over the evolution of humanity, the gut itself has developed a way of almost living within you to help you, but also to help itself, and it sends messages back and forth. The gut-brain connection to try and help you understand what's going on within inside you. But because these days, modern man is so distracted by communications, by phones, they're not really in touch with what these subtle signals may be. So having bloating, having gastric pain, having red marks, potentially rashes on your neck, on your face, on your ears, or on your feet, and all these things are telltale signs from your gut to say something's not right. Let's try and change this. Let's try and affect this. Now, without becoming a guru and meditating every day and understanding, like in that, becoming a spiritual guru and understanding every single indication that's sent from your gut to understand what they mean, you could probably spend a lifetime doing that. But what I now do with my company is we have a team of doctors and nutritionists who we get your blood test, we get your gut analysis done, and that way we kind of streamline the process. Instead of doing what I had to do, go away and research and find out how to cure yourself, what we do is give you the diet that is perfect for your gut microbiome. So what we do is we test lots of blood markers and test the whole gut and flora and fauna, and basically give you a dossier report, and then give you an itemized list of what you're sensitive to, what you're allergic to, what you potentially can eat, what you can't eat, and then we construct a diet for you personally, and that will obviously this is for people who potentially have already current symptoms, or if for athletes out there and people who want to just get even better, then we help, like we go into professional sporting clubs and stuff to help them to help them improve by even 1% more, because understanding that, say, a professional athlete who's doing really well could be eating still eating the wrong foods that's for their gut, so potentially they could even push that envelope even higher and become even better than they already are, and stay better for longer if they're eating the right things and avoiding contaminants and avoiding foods that are bad for them. So in short, yeah, I think it's vital to understand and know what is going on inside your body, but there's a kind of a streamlined, shortened process that kind of my company now does in order to help you understand exactly what is in there, because you can never know fully what's in there without having these tests done.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that was my next question. You say no matter what your age is, it's important to understand the connection between your brain and your gut health. So I'm wondering if you could just put a bow on that last answer, and why it's so important to know your statistics when it comes to your brain and your gut health, and why they're so interconnected.
Yeah, so the gut brain connection has been known since the Greek philosophers, since Hippocrates himself, father of medicine and holistic medicine, the philosopher, 400 BC, I think it was. He was a long time ago, and he coined the term "let thy food be thy medicine." So basically, like he knew people of that age knew all about the gut and brain connection, how important it was back in those days. But because of modern day living, we've just lost that connection, lost those kind of techniques and practices. So the reason I said about age is I take people on retreats as well. So I take people away, of communities of similar like-minded people who want to, who have been in similar situations to me, or they want to, improve their health and fitness holistically altogether, But then it's hard to find a group of people together who want to do this, and the fact of having a community around you helps you heal quicker and helps you just feel happy in general, because you've got people who are on the same kind of wavelength, probably on the same path. So talking about age, I've taken, elderly people away who have had dementia. I've taken people away who've had, really bad chronic pains to fitness and wellness retreat kind of thing in Wales, over in England, in the UK, sorry. And basically, the reason it's important to take control of this, even at any stage of your life, is because I've had people who are 60, 70 years old who came on that weekend away in a wheelchair and left walking out of that place. Obviously, they were in a wheelchair because they preferred to be in a wheelchair because they felt like they couldn't move because they were in pain and whatever. But at the end of those 3 days, we had a gentleman who couldn't walk up and down the stairs. He was walking up and down 3 flights of stairs, and he was remembering people's names who had dementia. So, and that's just from simple movement. This isn't from anything that's crazy. This is just from getting active, stimulating the vagus nerve, getting blood flow to your brain and from your gut, and like eating the right foods, taking away toxins, all lectins in kind of nuts, seeds, grains, barley, wheats, all these things that are kind of really high in lectins and are really damaging for the gut and cause symptoms like dementia type symptoms, and can exacerbate the symptoms of dementia even further. So I've seen people, like I said, of all ages grow from doing these kind of using all the knowledge that I've gathered over the years. But also, even if you're at that point where you think, oh, there's nothing I can do, there's nothing that can be done. Like I know and I've seen people like regain their life, even for those 3 days. If they don't continue to do the movement afterwards, obviously they'll degenerate again. But the fact is that I've seen that change in a matter of days. So it is possible to change, even get some time back that you may think's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Earlier, Thomas, you told me you spent some time in Canada playing for the Toronto rugby team, my friend. So tell me, what do you remember most about Canada, and what did you enjoy most while you were here, buddy?
Well, the unfortunate thing is, I never actually went to Canada. So I played for Toronto, but I signed over here. It was a team where they travelled every week. So basically, in the Super League, the competition I was playing in, they trained in the UK, but they played in Canada. So I retired during the pre-season, and the pre-season was done in England. So I never actually got on the plane to Toronto. So I don't really know, but I've always wanted to go.
Well, yeah, we gotta make sure that you get to this side of the border. Absolutely, buddy. Gotta show you some Canadian hospitality, right?
I'd love to, yeah, I'd absolutely love to. I've not been away since before the pandemic, so I need to get a break.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta spread your wings a little bit, huh?
100%.
Hey, Thomas, tell me, do you see your parts of yourself in the people that you train, and do you sort of relate to them on sort of a more human level because you've been through similar experiences? And how important is it for you to meet your clients where they are?
Yeah, I find I'm a very empathic kind of person due to obviously all the kind of traumas I've been through in my life, and obviously understanding that, even though someone may look okay internally, they might be internally mentally and internally in the gut, they might be really suffering. And so, yeah, I really kind of empathize with a lot of people, and a lot of the clients that I take on tend to be people who have tried everyone else or tried a lot of other techniques because they've had certain PTs, certain coaches, and they've never really got to the results that they wanted to from the standard way of doing things. And that can be because they may have an underlying health issue with the gut, or they may have um, some mental health traumas, but it can all be interrelated. And the way that I kind of program my sessions and program my coaching, my whole pathway is starting from the base and working up, starting from zero, from ground zero. So no matter how fit you think you are, I tend to start from just a movement based program, and then going into someone's house in general, trying to find out what they're eating and do a food diary. And then obviously, if they want to take the next step in the treatment, then I'll offer them the gut analysis and the blood work. And then if they want to go further, then we can offer red light therapies and other treatments and therapies. So yeah, I definitely empathize with people, and the way I choose my clients, I don't have many clients at all. I usually work with 5 or 10 maximum at a time because I like to dedicate a lot of time to that person, because it's not just about getting in shape. It's about getting healthy, and it's about changing your lifestyle, because you can't just get fit and healthy and then for 6 to 12 weeks like some people do and just do a program to go on holiday and whatnot. You have to really change your lifestyle in order for that to stick and to have longevity in what I kind of want to, and kind of what I give to my clients. I want them to go away after they've seen me for 6, 12, 3 months, whatever it might be, 4 months, 5 months, however long they use me for. I want them to go away and be able to get knowledge so that they don't have to come back to me in general. Yeah, they can still speak to me, ask me a few questions, that'll never go away, but I like to really take care of the people that I take on, and I want them to, learn from what they're doing and not just have a reductionist approach, put a plaster on something, have a quick fix, and then 6 weeks later it all goes back to square one. I want them to be able to go away from me and be able to then potentially help other people around them and have the knowledge base to do so. It's not just a quick fix for me. It's basically I want people to change their lifestyle as well. And that's why my title is a holistic performance and lifestyle coach. I want to be able to pass that knowledge on them, for that not to just be a 2 minute or whatever, a 12-week cycle, and then you just regress back into what you used to do, your old habits, your old ways.
Yeah, it's all about paying it forward and establishing consistency, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
And Thomas, I'm going to share just a bit about myself. You know, buddy, I was born with what's called spastic quadriplegic cerebral palsy. Simply means that I don't have enough oxygen in my legs to walk normally, so it affects things like my muscle movement, muscle dexterity, and my endurance. And I know for you that you've completed ultra marathons, and you've also completed wall runs, and it's important to you, as you said at the beginning of our conversation, to promote holistic ways of treating ailments and other injuries, and sort of embracing non-traditional medicine. So tell me about why it's so important for you to spread the word, and the importance you place on always being active as well.
Yeah, I think it's important to spread the word because I still believe that modern medicine obviously has a lot of investment from big pharma, and big pharma then kind of dictates what what the doctors and practitioners learn in university. And I think that especially over in the UK, they don't have enough time to speak to people on a personal level. And basically, you're in, your symptoms are checked, and then you're given a prescription. I believe it's kind of similar all over the world. So why it's important to find a different approach and find an alternative is because you're not around the doctors all the time. The doctor can't see you all day every day. You need to understand what's good for you and how you can help recover yourself. And the very first part of the recovery and getting yourself better is movement. If you're not moving, you're not getting enough blood flow to your extremities. You're not getting enough blood flow to your brain. If you can't obviously move and do the things that you need to do or want to do, then you need to be promoting blood flow all the time. And so, like you just said, I've run ultramarathons and done these things. I did that as a kind of to prove the doctors wrong, who said I needed a hip replacement, I needed this, I needed X, Y, Z. I couldn't do this, couldn't do that. So I was more of a just trying to prove people wrong, because that's the kind of way I work. I was on a podcast with my friend who used to go to school with years ago. He used to do ultramarathons, and he basically said it was the 31st of October 2 years back. And he just said to me, should we do an ultramarathon? And then Hadrian's Wall, which is the wall that the Romans built when they occupied the UK they built a wall from one side of the UK to the other in Northumbria across the whole of the UK, and it's 72 miles. And basically they built it. Hadrian. Caesar Hadrian. He built the wall to keep out the Scottish at the time. And so basically the pathway, there's an existing pathway that goes all the way across the UK. And I did it to raise money for multi neuron disease, which is what my nan died of. And so we just started running, and we expected it to do it in 24 hours, but it took us 2 days in the end, and a huge amount of pain. But it was more the fact that I at that point I was about 1.5 years into retirement, and I'd been doing a lot of the movement based stuff. I still was nowhere near I am today, but I felt good, and I just wanted to prove to the doctors and the consultants who said I needed a new hip wrong, basically. And I just started running, and then I've done a few other things where I tend to raise money for charity for motor neuron disease, because my nan died of it. And there's a guy at the minute, Rob Burrow, who plays in the UK, who he's unfortunately got diagnosed with motor neuron disease as well, after retiring from rugby himself. So it's a charity that's close to my heart. So that's why I try to raise money for that. But then like I said, the importance of movement is that's the basic fundamentals of keeping yourself young, keeping your joints young. Like the doctors and surgeons said, I've got osteoarthritis in my hips, and ultimately they said you should limit your movement. But then I started to read around and started to do a lot more research, and then everything that I was reading and looking into was basically saying the more that you stay sedentary, if you've got osteoarthritis and these things, the more that your joints atrophy and stiffen up, and the more it's hard, the more degeneration happens. Obviously, you've not got the muscles that you're using there in the hips, and the faster it accelerates when you do try and then move. So it was kind of counterintuitive for me to sit around and do nothing, whereas it seems counterintuitive to the doctors when I was saying to them, I need to do weights, I need to move, I need to explore the range of motion that I still have got. They were like saying, no, you're just going to cause more trauma, more injury, where now 3 years, 4 years down the line from that point, I'm almost better than I've ever been. I've still got a floating bone within my joint capsule, and I've still got some a cement material that they put during the surgery inside the joint. So I still need to go in for a little clear out of that little bit of bone that's cleared off. But essentially, because I moved and kept moving through the pain and using pain as a guidance, I was able to get myself back to doing all these challenges and running marathons and competing in all half Ironman triathlons and all these things that I was told I should never be able to do again. I've never played rugby again, but that's that's maybe another thing.
Well, Thomas, I always say the power of reinvention has its place, doesn't it?
Yes, 100% it does, mate. Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Thomas, I'm curious to ask you, because you're the perfect person to ask this for any athlete that may be watching this today. I'm curious to get your thoughts on the importance of sort of having a post-play plan or post-career plan when you're done playing. How important is it? Do you think athletes should think about life after sports?
Oh, it's hugely important. It's like basically like my last 5 years ago I retired, and for the 2 years after retirement was pretty much me just in a dark place, in a hole, basically blaming everyone else around me and just feeling like, and then blaming myself a lot and just beating myself up, and then I ended up drinking a lot more than I should. I was abusing my ADHD medication that I used to take. I don't take them anymore. I ended up abusing the medications, and I just ended up in a really dark place, downward spiral, just trying to escape. Basically, any escapism was just a part of my reality, because I was a professional sportsman, then I wasn't overnight. And the rugby league, they do have a really good charity that works alongside them. I think it's called Rugby League Cares, and a few other. There's a couple of others that are in there as well. They helped me a lot, to be quite honest, and they were quite good. But they come in to the rugby clubs when you're playing, and they do try and set you up for what you're going to do after. But in my case, I was doing a petroleum engineering degree as well alongside playing professional sport, so I felt like I'm okay. I'll be fine because I've got a master's in petroleum engineering. So, but turns out that if you carry on playing rugby and don't keep in touch with your education after you've got your degree, you can't really go straight into a job. So what I should have been doing is still taking courses for engineering while I was still playing, but I didn't really do that. And then once I got out of rugby and I tried to get a job in engineering, it just they said you got to go back to school essentially. And that's what really broke that's one of the things that really broke me at the time, because I just thought I sacrificed so much time to do this degree, and the amount of time, the hardships that I had to face, because I was traveling. I was getting up at 5 a.m. every day. I was traveling to the University of Manchester doing my degree, then going to training of an evening, and then back, and then driving back to 2 hours to where I lived. I just never stopped for like 4 years, and then having to balance that with playing full-time rugby, it was really, really difficult. I was mentally challenged and stressed during my time at university. So to have to do all that and then get out into retirement, and then realize I can't actually get a job because I was I didn't keep in touch with my studies, and I didn't keep in touch with the industry, was devastating. And basically at that point I was like self-destruct mode, and I just wanted to kind of just like forget everything and basically escape. And that's what I did for 2 years, and then that's when I kind of got myself to rock bottom and got myself out and decided, right, I can't continue doing this. We just had a newborn baby. My wife was ill. I was ill, and like I just needed a way out of it. No one else was going to come and help me, so I had to help myself, and that's what I did. And like, what I say to anyone who's a professional who's in a similar situation is that during rugby, you've got every single thing, or during rugby or professional sport, you have everything planned out for you. Everything you do from when you wake up to when you go to bed, pretty much. So like you have your days planned, you have your weeks planned, you have your months planned, you have your off season planned. So you have your whole year planned. And when that goes away and you're left on your own to your own devices without any money coming in, without any chance of without having a job, you just feel like you've gone from the peak of your career. You're in front. You're playing in front of in stadiums. You're on the TV, and then for that to be taken away overnight. It is a really, really hard pill to swallow, and it was one that it took me, like I said, a year and a half, 2 years to grasp what has happened, and to pick myself up and go, right, okay, no one's coming for me, so I've got to sort this out myself. And yeah, so for those, if there is any sportsmen out there who potentially this, then yeah, you need to have a plan and a bit of a routine, and a consistent routine, as you were saying before, to get yourself back into some kind of working pattern, whether that be, having a job or self-employed, whatever it may be. You still need a plan. You still need structure to stick to in order to, go on and live the second chapter of your life after rugby or after your sport.
Yeah, there's value to a post-career game plan, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. You need to have that. You need to have that in place, otherwise you'll get lost like I did.
Yeah, absolutely. And Thomas, my final question for you today has to do with your own personal and professional legacy and how you want that to be defined.
Well, like we obviously spoke about rugby, and we spoke about, like, I never really got to where I wanted to be, to the heights that I wanted to reach in rugby, due to obviously what we spoke about. But and that was a chapter in my life. So obviously I never quite got there. But like moving forward with my business, with True Athletic Fitness, with the red light therapy business, True Lights, I want to be able to help people, understand their bodies and help them, regain their health, or help them stay at their peak for longer. And I'm working with a couple of rugby players at the minute, and some really top level rugby league players, and some professional footballers in the Premier League, and I want them to be able to stay at the peak for as long as they can. And I also want people who are not professionals, not athletes, I want them to understand their bodies, and I want them to be able to, regain just get out of a rut if they're in a rut, or just understand their bodies better without having to rely on modern medicine, and without having to rely on doctors to tell you what medicine you should be on, what antidepressant you should be on, what plaster to put on, what symptom. And I feel like I've got a real passion to be able to I've got this opportunity. I've got a company set up, and I'm able to help people through these gut tests and analysis, and I can see that people change overnight almost. And I want to be able to pass that on to other people and be remembered for helping people out. I just want to make a change. I know everyone says I want to make a change to the world, I want to make a change to this, that, and the other, but if I can make a change to 10, 15, 20 people in the community, and then they make changes and that spreads, then yeah, that's what I want to do. I don't want it to stop here. I'm just starting, basically feel like I've just started again, started my life again. I'm 33 and I retired 5 years ago, and now I really feel like I've got an opportunity to do something positive again after rugby. Now I can see that this is my new path, my new direction. It's taken me a long time to find my new path, but this is what I feel like I'm meant to do now.
Yeah, Thomas, I always say that everything that happens in life happens directly on time, right?
Yeah, exactly that, mate. Exactly that.
And Thomas, tell me finally, if people want to get connected with you, buddy, what's the best way they can do that?
Oh yeah, so I'm most active on my Instagram at tarmstrong89, but also you can find me on LinkedIn, Thomas Armstrong, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and all the socials. But yeah, at tarmstrong89, pretty much throughout all that. And then if you want to go on to LinkedIn, just search Thomas Anthony Armstrong, and I'll be the one that says ex-professional rugby and True Athletic Fitness founder.
Fantastic. Well, Thomas, I really appreciated you taking some time today to share your inspirational and encouraging story of both perseverance, resilience, and inclusion for all, Bunny. Your work in the space of fitness and your motivation for athletes and others alike is most appreciated, my friend. And I want to thank you for being here today.
No worries, thank you for the invite, Kevin, and hope you have a great rest of your day.